For those who heard.
Too much.
Too much too early? Yeah. You can't start the show sexually aggressive.
At least wipe. It would have been better if you wiped.
Sorry.
Now there's shit on the wall.
Everywhere. Now, they know it's not happening. They can see there's clearly no shit. Now, one thing I will say, next week, we tried it this week, we have a dope Shot Pod banner that would be going here. But instead, we have Eric Gagnon in place as our guest this week. What's up, Eric?
Eric,
Thank you. We've been trying to get this motherfucker on for like 3 weeks now.
Appreciate it.
Eric and I, well, it's Eric's band. Eric is a band, or is part of his band called No One Drowns. They're on YouTube. They're on, give me the list, man. I know it's on, you can search it on YouTube. No One Drowns, NOONEDROWNS.
Twitch, Facebook.
All that stuff.
Insta. I don't know.
Yeah. Check it out. It's all requests cover band back karaoke. So when Eric can get a hold of me, I play drums and I jam with him. But I'm kind of interchangeable. It's basically Eric's road show. He shows up with his equipment and it is full all requests. So like when I play, I mean, I feel like when I play with Eric, we get the most. We have the most fun with it. But we're busy guys. We can't always make everything work. But for the most part, it's like literally Aqua's Barbie Girl. You know, we're up there, fucking Eric's on his guitar, you know, tuning and playing the chords. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. I'm up on the drum kit. Oh yeah. Like, we don't give a shit. We will do anything.
The question that I almost asked outside of the podcast when I was like, oh no, I'll wait for the podcast is when it comes to every song, you just look up like via tablet.
Yeah,
like, these are the notes.
Yeah, so let's talk about the process. You explain it, Eric. So we're at a show and I'm Samantha, right? I want you to play bad guy. Will you play bad guy for me? And now what do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, if people are into 90s and 2000s alt rock, I don't bother looking anything up.
He knows a lot of it, yeah.
But
let's pretend you had to look it up.
But there's so much to music in general and the openness to anything. I mean, odds are people aren't going to yell out 90s or 2000s alt rock because it's literally anything, any pop or any era.
We get Zeppelin, Prince, Johnny Cash, the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
What are some other weird ones? Even something with Good Charlotte. Like, we've done Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous and it went over so great. I remember we didn't think it would. We were like, who's going to know this? This is from like our high school days. And the whole place is Lifestyle of the Rich and the Famous. We're like, oh shit.
But yeah, what I wanted to say was, and we talked about this when we went to see Korn in AIC.
Yep.
We saw Jerry Cantrell with a tablet like
on stage
in his face the whole time.
A professional band.
Yeah, and that was for his own songs. So and we know that Hetfield's always got a big ass teleprompter.
Ozzy's been using a prompter since the 80s because of the cocaine and the drug abuse. So yeah.
Yeah, so ever since I saw those guys, I thought, I don't know, maybe there's not a stigma anymore. And I thought, if I'm playing something that isn't mine or isn't ours, like if they can for their stuff, might as well search it up just in case.
What do you
in case you forget the beginning of the second verse or whatever?
Yeah. What do you look it up on? You have a tablet, but what's the pro? Do we go into use Ultimate Guitar for the most part?
If I've ever played it before, it's already local on the tablet.
So you have it in a notepad in the hard drive of the tablet.
Yeah.
And I've seen him, he'll do it on stage. I know I'm answering for you. but he'll bring it up, let's say it's a song he knows we're going to do again. I remember the first time we got Lifestyles and we got the anthem, and he's like, so he'll go in and he'll copy the text, bring it into a notepad, and kill any extra. You know, who made the tab, all this bullshit, delete, have just the lyrics and then just the numbers, like E string, A string, and 5th fret, 7th fret, basic stuff, or just verse with ACE. So the verse is ACE. We know the song, we'll figure it out. Just basic notes to help him along, because it comes quick. But if it's something you have to look up, now you go on Ultimate Guitar, look up Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. Now it's up, and now he'll go up and he'll literally sight read, like right there on the tab. Bum, ba-da, bum, bum, bum.
But the trade-off, which we haven't talked about, is that, you know, you always got to think, if you're swiping away the whole time or trying to depend on some automated scrolling,
which never works.
Auto
scroll is, I don't know, the AI isn't there yet.
Yeah.
We can put a man on the moon, but you can't auto scroll Hotel California. Come on, guys.
Yeah. But that's the trade-off, is that, you know, I reach a point where I just delete a bunch of stuff from the file because I'm figuring, hey, I don't want to scroll anymore. Right?
So if you can fit it all in one, and if it's a decent sized tablet, and let's be honest, most songs 4 minutes, 3.5, 4 minutes. So you got an intro, You got a verse, you got a chorus, you got a verse, you got a chorus, you got a bridge. So the verses and choruses are usually you can just say verse, chorus, and then just put repeat. So right away you've saved space. Then you root your bridge in, and if there's anything extra on the last chorus, you just say last chorus, add this. And the song's done. You can fit most of it in, if you can see, I'd say this much of the screen, really. You could fit most songs. Unless someone starts asking for Master of fucking Puppets. And it's happened. Have we played Master of Puppets as a 2-piece live?
We have.
Many times.
But like, are there times where, you'll read a request and be like, oh, yes!
How many times does that happen with me? The amount of times I'm literally dancing on the drum kit like a loser. Like I'm just like, yeah, somebody asked for Billy Talent. Let's fuck this up.
I remember one gig in the South End for a bar that you said you were going to talk about.
Yeah, Fox and Goose is a good place.
There was a guy that was the biggest OLP fan on earth, and he just wanted OLP the whole time.
We were an OLP fucking cover band that night. And of course, my history with Mike Turner, I have no issue with that. I loved it, right?
Was there plenty of
there was plenty. One or two. Hey, give us one, Eric. Hey, we got it. We got her good. But yeah, I love. We're all drinking. We're all drinking.
Yeah.
No, it's been it's been a lot of fun to do that. Now,
before I forget,
good song by Slipknot.
It is. But we've been talking so far about how all request in general is kind of crazy.
It really, and we will do anything anything.
But then you add on to that karaoke, and then you have random people coming up, totally random people coming up on stage, sometimes falling ass drunk into guitar cases,
and tripping over our equipment, or setting their fucking beer down on our mixer. Like, whoa, no, like setting like gunk, like I'm just gonna put this here.
No, I want to be clear. I totally appreciate them. I appreciate that they're there. It's a must. I mean, it's the only way we can keep this stuff going.
He's not wrong. So now, so think about this. So now you've got this dynamic. I'm over on the drum kits. I don't have a tablet. I don't get that privilege. Now, drums is a lot easier. I don't have notes to worry about. But whatever the song is, I kind of have to have a general knowledge. Yeah. Like, I listen to a lot of radio. I listen to a lot of 99.9, even though I don't want to, because, someone's going to ask me for Meet Me at Our Spot, or they're going to ask us for Posty, some Post Malone we get requested. And I'm not a big Posty guy, but I need to know.
I mean, if somebody comes up to you and says, like, oh, can you guys do this song by Protest? Then you'd be like, okay.
We've had we've had a couple protest requests. That's a bit much. That's when we have to call. We might have to say okay. But we've surprised people. We've had someone ask us to do One by Metallica, and we've done that a number of times. But I remember the first time we did it, I had a single kick, so it was difficult but doable. So we've pulled through. That's difficult to do. He's one guitar guy, so we're talking about one guy playing all those guitar parts. Holding the bass note with his thumb. Because we have you gotta understand, so there's only two of us. So Eric has a bass octave pedal, so it runs out of his guitar. And so whatever he's playing on the E string will get amplified in a separate channel in the mixer, separate from his guitar distortion as a bass. It's not an uncommon thing. Other people do it.
Royal Blood style.
Very much Royal Blood stuff, but more so than that, because that guy's just worried about his effects. He's playing the guitar and the bass part, so we're playing...
And that guy's not playing all requests.
Limp Bizkit. So, yeah, Limp Bizkit's a pretty tough one. We'll be playing My Way's a favorite. We get requested to play My Way, and we're in there, and we get to that, it's my way on the highway. There's a chord progression, which is C sharp, A, E, and there is... that riff that you hear, the that kind of like drone, and he plays that with his pinky while holding those other riffs with his thumb. Like, it's a fucking...
I'm glad you noticed.
His hands are jazzy, right? And I noticed because I'm over on the fucking drum kit trying to keep up, right? I'm looking at your hands a lot. I know where, maybe I forget where the bridge is on this song, so I'm like, watch his hands. When he switches from F up to that 8th fret, I know we're in the bridge. Like, I'm watching him.
Should there we talk about you watching my feet?
Yeah, yeah. We also have foot ones. So if we're playing, if it's a halftime feel, he'll put his foot up
like
halfway. If it's
like fold the leg,
if it's a
leg,
double time feel,
stump,
double time feel, he stamps his foot on the ground, like double time, like go, like double time. We're gonna so if it's boom ka, boom ka, boom ka. Oh, there's the leg, boom ka, boom ka, boom ka, boom ka. Oh, there's the leg again, boom, boom ka. Boom, 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 ka. All the same tempo but different beats.
Because at jams, there's a lot of the time there's a bunch of other musicians that aren't attached to the mic, right?
Yeah.
So they can look over at the fellow jammers and signal to them in whatever way. but my hands are busy, both of them.
Usually his feet are
attached
too.
to the mic. Yeah. And
luckily he can spare a second with his foot because he's got pedals he's actuating too. But he'll get that right foot up and I'll know. Also, like the everybody knows the moving of the neck means we're done now. Like this is it. This is it. Especially if it's a song where I will flat out admit like I can plead ignorance. That's another thing that's kind of fun. First few times we did Post Malone, I had to plead ignorance. I was like, I don't know anything about this. So Eric's like, all right, this song has stops and starts. So it's going to be like 16 bars of drums and then 16 bars, maybe 8, I don't know, of nothing. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Watch the legs. And I am sitting there on the kit, and when I see the leg come up, little Phil, choke the cymbal.
It's so good.
Leave him on the verse.
Leave him. It
does feel good when it works, you know. Everybody,
and
but nobody knows. We're getting off so hard on the fact that we're making this up as we go. But everybody out there's just like, oh, I know this Post Malone song. Waitress, another whiskey, please. You know.
Have you
downloaded the DTF app? Oh my God, it's so cool.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Have you heard any like ridiculous requests where you kind of try not to laugh, but you can't help it? Like if somebody came in and said, "Oh, I saw this on YouTube. Can you play Smells Like Teen Spirit by Post Malone?" And you're like, "Oh, okay."
I wish. That'll be you when you show up. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'm trying to think.
I mean,
that'd be sacrilege.
He nailed their covers.
Yeah, but it's still sacrilege to say that. Yeah.
I've had
he did nail them. Well said.
I've had kids request us songs that were like, who? You know, we were playing at the lake. We had a couple requests from younger kids where they're like, can you play this? And we looked at each other like old people. And I mean, honestly, me and Eric are pretty in the loop. Like, we've heard of pretty much everything. We can kind of...
I think the kids at the lake wanted Shawn Mendes, and then we belted a couple out, and they're like, we haven't heard of those.
Oh.
It's like, so
those are too old.
That Shawn Mendes is too old for you.
From the 2017 Shawn Mendes was out of touch. We needed that 2020 shit.
Yeah. But back to what you said about protest, that makes me think of songs like Disturbed.
Oh!
So the reason I bring that up is that, you know, when I can't get the drummer that I want, as Alex talked about, you know, I kind of have to give the spiel to people of how this works so that they know what they're signing up for. And I tell them, I tell them if something gets requested that has different time signatures, we either talk about whether you know them and then we play them right, or like for protest, we'll say, you know, if we don't know the SIGs, we're going to decide on straight time. And then we'll play a straight time version. And
try and get through enough of it that nobody will leave.
And the crowd they're impressed no matter what, because they know it's not prepped.
I think the one that the people get impressed, the two that when they're like, can you do this, is Alexis on Fire and Billy Talent. So someone asked us to do River Below, and it was after we did it once or twice, we're like, ooh, we're good at this. Let's do more. Let's just keep doing that. But the first time it was like, we'd only heard it on the radio. We both knew we liked Billy Talent, never rehearsed. Got through that song and it went well. And the other one was the city
Alexis,
is haunted.
By the way, speaking of bar scene, that was the one time in recent years where we played a show in Toronto. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, the Troubadour show. Or no, not Troubadour, sorry. Tale of the
Toronto.
Junction.
Yeah. And everybody was pouring in from an Alexis show. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember. That was the gig. Fuck, man. That got set up. I can't remember who got set up through, but I think Valier or somebody was setting up those gigs.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun. The T-Dot. Bah. Did you, Mark? Did you play Toronto when you played? Like, because I don't know. I just think it's so different. The scene in Toronto as opposed to the suburbs is so vastly different.
My band ended up playing the Reverb.
Yeah, we did that. Which was in the Big Bop building, which was the Reverb, the Cathedral, and Johnny's like Cocoa House or something on the top floor, which was like a coffee shop. I played them all. Also, I saw a movie the other day, and the Cathedral was fucking straight out of Compton. I think they filmed straight out of Compton. There's a scene where they're in a club and somebody gets shot off on stage, and it's the Cathedral. It's 100% the Cathedral they filmed it in. I recognize the floor and all the benches. I recognize. I spent a lot of time at the Cathedral, so yeah. Now, anyways, that's kind of fucking cool.
Being that you learn songs quite often on the spot for karaoke and stuff, are there songs that earlier in your life where you're like, oh, you know, I'm never going to learn that. I don't want to ever learn that. I don't want to touch that. And then somebody's like, oh, can you play this? And you're like,
Tragically,
That's like-
every time somebody requested,
70% of the night, but
Yeah.
that's what makes it all the more impressive is that you're willing to do that for them.
I definitely dislike a lot of what we play. I'll flat out admit it.
Yeah.
I'm picky about music. You know, I've got the bands I love, as does Eric. Eric and I have our passionate bands. You know, like Eric's, and you can tell because they're the songs that we are amazing at, like Chili Peppers, Bush. You know, Eric does an amazing Gavin, like, you know, the glycerine. We do glycerine and girls just, their panties just fall to the floor. I'm like, sorry,
Inevitably.
guys, you know, you're going to have to line up.
I mean, now we were talking outside the podcast of this, so you've got some bass to your voice. So I want to hear you do our little tester line.
Yeah.
And that line is, you got to say into the mic, very, very soft and serenading, like, you're not the droids we're looking for. Let's hear you.
Give it to us, Eric.
You're not the droids we're looking for.
All right, there
All
you
right,
go.
I like it.
All
We got Jerry to do it. Everybody does one. Everybody does one. So yeah, playing Toronto, it can be a lot of fun, and you get pour out from shows and shit. But I've had it. It's kind of cool now in Oshawa because we've got the Biltmore and we've got all these other venues. So that kind of happens there too, where people get kind of, you know, there's a gig and then
Pour
they
out
pour
from
out,
there.
pour out into there because there's Crazy Jacks, there's Top Corner, there's the Atria, there's all these little smaller bars downtown, and they can take the pour in from these other events, and that's always good. We used to do every Tuesday at the Atria back in the day. We would do the all requests probably 3 or 4 years ago, and man, it was fun to pour in from the
from
other
the
bars.
music hall, yeah.
From the music hall and the other bars. At
Whenever
12-1.
we get to that tester line, quite often, Alex, he becomes like a hyena from Lion King, right? It's like, oh, say it again. Mufasa.
Yeah. Mufasa. Ed? I love the Lion King, eh? Can we just take a minute to appreciate the great, amazing, the animation, the story, the voice acting, the soundtrack.
Now I imagine them at mics like this while they're recording that movie and they're like doing lines.
Yeah.
Like the hyenas are doing lines.
Little amber bumps in the studio. Hey guys, I just have to blow my nose.
Do what you gotta do for art. Yeah.
Yeah, do what you gotta do. Long live the king. No, that would be the perfect time to put the Vader no in when he gets Mufasa. No, just somebody needs to splice that in and fucking that'd be perfect. So yeah, one of the other thing we were talking about with the all requests. So we're up there doing all of this. You know, I'm trying to pull stuff out of my ass. I've got a mic. So any backup vocals, which are in some songs are obvious, like for instance, Other Side, you know, and the other side, the chorus, he goes, how long, and the other guy, John, I'll be in the background going, how long, you know, doing that whole part.
Billy Talent's insane for that, by the
Billy
way.
Talent,
So many background
into
lyrics.
the river below.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite ones is the Devil in a Midnight Mask, man, like that one. Or I got the devil on my shoulders, over and over. I get to throw that in while I'm on the. I love that
So good.
on the fucking drums, man. So I'm doing that too. But then we'll have this. Can I sing it? Right. So, and I mean, any girl I've dated, right? Any girl I'm dating automatically gets like first priority to come up and sing. So you know, whichever one it is
know
that's
who
in the
you have
crowd.
in mind.
Yeah, Eric's always got them in mind. Well, for a while it was Serena. I remember when Serena would come out and you made this comment. You're like, if you fuck the drummer, you get up early. He said it right like that on the.
I don't remember that.
It was. He said it on Whiskey
I
John's.
believe you.
Whiskey John's.
I
It was a
believe you.
Whiskey John's night, and it was so funny.
Was she pissed about
her
that, or-
face went so red, and then she was kind of like, "Yeah, whatever." You know, like she owned it. But it was a good time. So now we've got someone come up, and for in that instance, like, and I think Kate's one of my favorites, is No Doubt. Like these girls that like to do
So
No
you're
Doubt.
telling me you fucked her.
No, I fucked Serena. I did not screw Kate. That's why Kate waits. That's why Kate's like later down the line. No, Kate's dope. So Kate will come up and she'll say, I want to do, you know, a No Doubt song. And that's one of those other bands that we're like, we don't want to tell everybody, but we're secretly love, like really passionate. Like, oh, I fucking love No Doubt. So we'll do Spiderwebs or Ex-Girlfriend, or if she really wants to do fucking, you know.
So is it that
Don't
they
Speak.
fuck you and then they get the perk, or do they fuck you knowing that they'll get that
I
perk?
think
Is that why they fuck
It's
you?
the first time they come up, they're like, hey, can I sing? They decide in that moment they want to fuck.
Okay.
Usually me, because they find out you're married.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, I guess I'll take him. And then they start fucking me, and then they realize that, I can get up before everybody else.
There you go.
You know, Violet did it too. She used to come up and do fucking somebody that I used to know all the time. I fucking hate hearing that song now.
Have you heard like this kind of scenario where it's like, oh yeah, well, oh blah 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 blah, Eric, oh yeah, and then it's like, oh, I'm married, and then they're like, oh, what's the matter? What's the matter? What do you call a guy that hangs out with the band? The drummer.
There's some good, any good music jokes. So one of my favorite ones is who hangs out with the band, the drummer. Another amazing one is how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? 10. 1 to screw it in, and 9 to talk about how they could have done it better. That's a good one. Any other good band? Any ones? No. Bass player jokes for days. Like, I saw the one where it's like someone left a bass player in the van without the window down. You know, very someone should break the window or whatever. Like that was pretty funny. Talk to them like they're dogs. But bass players get all the pussy. That's what I don't know. People don't understand is the bass players slay. They take home all the girls. I don't know how it is, but that's just the way she seems to go. All the bass. It's like. They want to bang the singer, but the singer's got like 4 supermodels already, and usually the guitar player's married, so they just go for the bass player, I guess. And the drummer, nobody wants to fuck him because he's the retarded guy that hangs out with the band, right? Like, I don't know. Is that what it is, Eric?
Anyone seen Jennifer's Body? We just finally saw that the other day.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's about this. It's not about it, but this evil band. Right, they're
it's actually
Satan worshippers. Yeah,
it's actually kind of loosely based on a true story. There was an actual scenario
that
happened.
Megan Fox in that?
Yeah.
But the reason I bring it up,
I will watch it for that reason alone.
When they're in the woods doing what they got to do to a supposed virgin, Megan Fox. Man, did they ever talk down to that bassist the entire time? Like they were just treating him like shit.
I need to see this now.
I mean,
a bassist abuse.
It might be overhyped, but yeah.
All the bassists out there getting PTSD from that scene. They're like, they need to cut that scene. I can't watch that.
Or they're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they're usually like that. You're right. Whatever.
The true story was a band that wanted to make it. They decided to try to make a deal with the devil and sacrifice somebody. Yeah. And so they killed somebody, hoping that they would make it, and then one guy actually felt so guilty about doing it, he turned himself in and ratted on.
That's fucked up.
Boys. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of switch around a little bit and just do we have any current events that we want to kind of knock out of the way like we normally do? So weigh in if you want, Eric. We're gonna come back to our music talking shit, but while we've still got a little bit of the camera time on, I want to kind of usually we'll talk about like we talked a lot about Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. We were excited about that, and now that's all done. And it's been so fun seeing the new Amber Heard videos of her being like, oh my God, like, he convinced the world that he has scissors for hands. What is wrong with you people? Like, whatever the fuck she was going on about in that video. It's so funny.
We were just talking about them last night after we went to see Top Gun.
Yeah.
And we were trying to think, is this recency bias or are people in general more obsessed with that trial than they were with OJ's murder trial? Like, I get there was obsession with the murder trial as well, but this seems like next level that everybody's into it.
I think it's because of the whole the guy, you know, of a dude saying, being called an abuser and it's bullshit. I think that's why it's such a big deal. It's OJ actually fucking killed his wife. We all know it. I don't think Johnny did anything that bad. I'm sure there was definitely abuse between the both of them.
Battling the stigma also too. Like
that we're always the bad guy.
Like men can be victims too. And I love like when it was done, the Justice for Johnny hashtags flew. I mean, that flew during, but there was the hashtag me capital N too. Yeah. So I was like, oh, men too. So it was.
I like that. Yeah, that's all right. You know, I don't want to toot our horns too much, but it's definitely a good victory in the way that, like, you know, like we were talking about it on the day that everything came out, as personal as fuck for me. Like, I was dating a girl and her fucking kid came at me, and then, like I said, if they were smart enough, which thank God they weren't, to sit down and be like, let's come up with this story and let's make sure we get it straight, they could have fucked me hard. But they were just really stupid and told the truth, and the police were like, well, none of this matches up. So everything was, you know, at the end of the day, it was just everybody broke up. We signed all our paperwork and we moved on. Yeah. But, you know, it's easy. I have friends who've done time in Lindsay because of this situation where they got together and said, we're going to fuck this guy. We're going to say that he's a big piece of shit. And, you know, this is like a skinny little 120-pound buddy of mine that I know.
So you're saying we're still talking about the bar scene and musicians? Because this sounds the same.
Well, actually, that's an interesting segue. Yeah, we've had a couple dudes come into the bar screaming and yelling, trying to have at us. It's been, you know, it's...
The point is people can just make shit up about somebody. Oh, yeah. And it happens. What's fucking sad is that it works.
It does, man. We've had gigs stolen right from underneath our noses because they're called just like, yeah, those guys. And they can say whatever they want. They could say, I mean, I'm going to be honest with like, Eric is one of the most straight cut dudes on the fucking planet. Eric doesn't smoke weed. Eric doesn't fucking do nothing. Eric will have a beer with me now and then. It's like as bad as it gets. And they'll be like, yeah, these guys are just into a bunch of drugs. To say that like Eric, I mean, I've done my share of drugs. I avoid doing a bunch of them at gigs. But like to have people call and be like, yo, because we played the Atria, just because we played it and everybody knows drugs happen there. They're like, well, those guys are just a bunch of drug heads and tried to lose us gigs and succeeded because the owners just don't want to deal with the bullshit. They're like, oh, is there any bullshit involved? Never mind, right? So yeah, it is. You could take this Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing and apply it right down the line to that. Yeah. Talking shit about people when you're lying isn't fucking acceptable. And when it happens, you're going to pay the price.
We got to bring that back.
15 million or a fucking bat to the head. It's going to be one or the other. And they both sound shitty to me. So
bring back integrity. Bring back phrases like "you got my word." Like,
how about we just fucking be nice to each other and keep our mouths closed unless we got something nice to say.
I mean, the true colors are kind of showing here. How like Johnny Depp's like, she can keep her money, I'll move on, and he moved on.
Yes.
And meanwhile, she's still in the news, like, oh no, this happened. This said, I want to see Johnny do this interview, and it's like he's done. He moved on.
I liked the interview where she goes, apparently I'm a bad actress, but I'm a good actress. So like, which one is it? If I'm such a bad actress, but then I was acting really well in court, like I don't make up your minds. I love her addressing and using the word actress like 6 times in a row. That's just it exemplifies or it kind of reinforces that you're confused, you're talking in circles, you're grasping at straws. You know what I mean? Like there's no clear, concise talk from Amber. Otherwise, I might actually be like, yeah, whatevs, like kind of give her some credit. It's the talking circles and stumbling over her words that gives away its horse shit.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid and my mom was calling me out on lies, what did I do? I stumbled. I was little Johnny and we went to the bar and then I fell. I just fell. I swear to God, I didn't hit him. I just fell and I hit my head. You got me. Like it's just like you give up eventually. I just wish Amber would.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Chris Evans quickly.
Yeah,
because
let's do it.
with Buzz Lightyear coming out, there's a scene in Buzz Lightyear where there's a lesbian couple.
Is it not out? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Have you seen it with the kiddos?
No.
Okay.
So there's a scene in it with a lesbian couple that kiss. But, but obviously that's
slower, Mark.
That's going to offend other religions. So there are certain countries.
Which religions in particular?
Well, we can talk about the Muslim religion.
Oh, Muslims don't like gays?
No.
That's not good.
No.
Anyways.
Let's get our caller.
Yeah.
So then you have like the
seriously, so you're saying countries with a predominantly Muslim religion won't play this movie because there's a girl kissing scene that's not from main characters, it's just a scene.
It's one of the main characters.
Okay.
Yeah. So
could they not like deep fake one of the two girls?
They've got the Muslim version where it's just a dude in that place.
I know her name. Mando deep fake.
I know her name is Pearl, but we're gonna pretend it's Paul now.
It's just Paul, but just for Iraq. Yeah. So Chris Evans, so special.
So Chris Evans came out to call every country that doesn't air this movie idiots. Now it depends on where you stand from. Like every country essentially is different. Every border has their own rules. This
is a gray fucking line, Mark, because this is when tolerance becomes retarded. You know what I mean? It's like, is Chris? I don't know. I'm really on the like. This is a weird thing. I don't think Chris should have said that, but I kind of agree with him. But I just wouldn't say it. It's not something you should say because they have the freedom to practice whatever they want regardless of your opinion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what they practice is oppressive towards women, which is not something we're about.
I mean, women and men.
It's a tough call to say you're allowed to do what you want. Oh, right. But what you do is actually really against the rest of our rules, like normal societal rules on the West Coast or on the West side of the world.
I think what we take for granted is where we were born. Our roll of the dice could have just as easily been anywhere else.
Very much so, yes.
And everyone's a product of what they grow up in and what environment they grow up in. Now, that does not justify the actions.
We've talked about breaking the cycle. We've talked about breaking the cycle. It's a big theme here, And I'll be honest, I feel like I have a mild opinion on the topic just because I have a lot of Muslim friends now that have denounced the religion. I have, friends that show me pictures of them in elementary school in full hijab, and now they walk around wearing whatever they want with their hair dyed funny colors because they just went, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm a grown woman. I can do what I want. So it's got, and guys that are like, I'm going to marry a white girl. And they're like, what? Yeah, they're not fucking down. No, you're not marrying that white girl.
But you got to take a moment to appreciate those stories and how crazy it must have been for them to overcome.